So today we're going to do mindfulness of the breath. It was the first meditation that the Buddha taught, and it's often considered the primary meditation in Thai forest or Theravadan Buddhism. There are other techniques of breath meditation where you manipulate the breath and you can quickly get into very deep states of consciousness, but the way the Buddha taught was to slowly let go of control of the breath and then observe the natural breath as it becomes gentler and gentler. This is a technique that lends the mind to wander. So if we find our mind wandering, it's not because we're doing anything wrong, it's because this technique leads to the mind wandering, and it's the noticing that the mind wanders, and it's the bringing back to the breath is the practice, rather than trying to attain deeper states of meditation. So we can bear that in mind and not worry about losing concentration, not worry about having to bring the mind back. That's exactly what we're here to do. So we'll start off with a slightly longer breath. And if we're agitated, we elongate the out breath to calm us down. And if we're sleepy, we emphasize the in-breath to wake us up. If we're already in the middle, we can spend an equal focus on both. We can really acknowledge and recognize the different energetic qualities of the breath. If we just our mind is wandering quickly, or we're sleepy, or we're struggling to find the energy to concentrate. Maybe in our posture, and an upright posture. It's important when the body is slouched, the mind is slouched. But equally, if the body is overly tense and rigid, we may be following the breath perfectly, but if we're following the breath perfectly with tension throughout the body, we're forcing everything, and we're not here to force good meditation. We're here just to observe our breathing. As the mind calms down, we can note that the breath tends towards becoming shallower and gentler. If the mind wanders, it's part of the habit pattern of the mind. We can find ourselves planning the future. We can find ourselves trying to resolve matters from the past. But when we're only sitting still for half an hour, we know that we'll have time to address these things if we need to later on today or tomorrow. We have enough time in our lives to address these thoughts, but we sit thinking about this now through habit, not through necessity. When we learn to let go of listening to our thoughts, of thinking our thoughts are so important we need to be there for every single one, we find it easier to let go when we realise that they're not as important as we thought. We don't need to chase them. If they were really important, we'd think of them again. So it's about recognising the true importance of thoughts and the true importance of the present moment. And once we see the more time we spend just being, the more enjoyable it is just to sit and enjoy nothing. We note the coolness of the out-breath, the warmness of the out-breath. Most importantly, we're just enjoying being without achievement, without judgment. We're learning to, for half an hour, unplug our brains and going out of our mind and coming to our senses. if we find ourselves nodding asleep, we can take a few slightly stronger in breaths just to create energy in the body. If we're finding the sounds distracting and we're blaming the sounds for the contents of our brain, we can use a few slow breaths focusing on the calming nature of the out breath, just to recenter ourselves and start again. And it's this starting again with kindness, with happiness, without judging ourselves, which is where the practice is. It's about noticing when the mind is wandering and bringing it back, rather than finding a sense of achievement for the mind not wandering. It may be that in the background there's this chattering, but at the same time as this chattering, we're with the breath, and that's normal and natural, and we just stay with the breath and let that chattering mind fade away. Or if the chattering mind becomes louder, we sit with a louder chattering voice as long as we're with the breath as well. And the more we investigate the breath, the more that we give ourselves to do by investigating, the less inclined our mind is to create. the mind can wander for, for many reasons. We can become sleepy for many reasons, or agitated. And this is normal and natural. We can find wisdom if we sit through sleepiness and then become agitated and restless, and then back to sleepiness. We can see that it's not really sleepiness, it's not really agitation, it's the mind unused to this position in the middle, and it's trying to move away from this present moment in any way it can. And we can go between restlessness and sleepiness many times in half an hour, and that switch backwards and forwards, we can see that it's not real tiredness, it's a trick of the mind. We wouldn't be agitated or sleepy if we were watching TV right now, because we're fixing on something else. And this is what the mind does when there's nothing to fix on, and we observe the mind trying to attach to things, or trying to get away from just enjoying being ourselves. If our mind becomes very sensitive, we can note that the breath changes slightly before our emotional state. Our breath might start to pick up, and then we notice agitation. Our breathing might become slower and more relaxed, and after that we notice we're getting sleepy, but there's always a slight change in the breath. for the last 5 minutes, we can practice just enjoying sitting and enjoying this mental state that we've cultivated. Even if it hasn't been a perfect meditation, this is likely to be the quietest our minds have been all day. It's likely to be a period with the least amount of external stimulus. And just sitting and watching the breath like we're watching a television program. Not to get to the end, but to enjoy the happenings.